Good evening and welcome to Critical Thoughts. I'm your host, Braxton Smith. Today is June 4th, 2017, and today we'll be talking about the recent Paris Climate Agreement that was shot down by Donald Trump. And right now joining me is co-host Jake Bird, aka our science guy. He has a bachelor's in biochemical engineer, so he will be providing us some examples on science and scientific guy approaches to things. So Jake, go ahead and...
Yes, I passed the smell test. I'll correct you though. I'm a chemical engineering bachelor's, not biochemical, but I did specialize in it a little bit. But
okay, so anyways, there's his credentials, folks. He graduated from Auburn University with that, so he's basically every bit as qualified as Bill and I. We've been getting a lot of flack and feedback about people talking about Bill Nye and how relevant he is to the science community. But first off, before we get too deep into it, two balls deep into this, I want to preface everything with an actual definition of what a scientist is. Scientist is one whose activities make use of the scientific method to answer questions regarding the measurable universe. Scientists may be involved in original research or make use of the results of the research of others. So basically, anybody can be a scientist. At this point, we're just taking into account how relevant someone's field is to the subject at hand. And Bill Nye himself is actually a mechanical engineer. So how much knowledge he has towards climate change is definitely disputable. Honestly, I think Jake Bird, no bias here, maybe there is. I feel like a chemical engineer might have a little better input about how the environment works than a mechanical engineer. But I just wanted to, right off the bat, dismantle all that about how scientists work, because just because you don't have the academia doesn't mean that you can't be a scientist. All you have to do is reasonably understand and grasp some of the research that's been out there and make decisions for yourself. But
well, yeah, that's exactly the point. When someone goes, "Oh, you shouldn't listen to X because they don't have this degree in it." Well, part of the thing about any field of study is you're supposed to be continually learning it and you're supposed to be applying it. But the basic thing is it's a field. It's scientific information that's already there. As long as you can take the fundamentals and work with it, that's what should matter, not if they've got a doctorate or a master's or anything like that. It's just, what is it? What are they saying? What's the logic behind it? Are they approaching it honestly and ethically, and go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, so the whole point of this whole video, it really is, we had posted a video to basically address what Arnold Schwarzenegger was putting out there. We put out a video about Bill Little that I felt accurately addressed everything in regards to this whole climate change debacle. But we got some feedback from some of our followers. I'm not going to name any names, but he's very vociferous in our group, and he comes back with arguments like he's asking for results. This guy's posting these results saying this, but I have results saying this. And I've had discussions with our science guy Jake Bird here. I've had discussions with him about how, even in Futurama, they make a joke out of it. Like Professor Farnsworth is paid off by Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong says, "Hey, is there any life over there?" Hands him a stack of cash. He looks up there on that planet, says, "Nope, go ahead. You're free to do whatever you want to." And in all reality, it's basically it's a joke towards our own society. How we run things is that you pay the scientists to give the results you want. You go on Google and you search hard enough, you can find results wherever you want. And Jake and I both will provide in these comments, we'll provide scientific results that say one way, and Ash. Okay, I just name dropped. I didn't mean to do that, but the guy who we're having this debate with, he could very well provide results that say otherwise. So, now we got to use. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the place to really start right now. I don't think it's right for anyone here to claim with 100% certainty that they have the holy grail of knowledge when it comes to the climate change and just meteorology in general. I mean, it's a very complex phenomenon, and despite what you may hear from both sides, it's not settled science in any way, shape, or form. There's still a lot out there, and that's my main problem with this whole debate is when you're trying to say that you have a definite solution to possible problems, that's just classic snake oil salesman.
Yeah, you nailed it. And the key word you said earlier, as soon as you said meteorologist, I was just thinking about how, the weather guy, for example, everybody jokes about how he's the guy that, he can be wrong 90% of the time, but he still gets to keep his job, right? And that's how, and the thing is, the meteorologist has way more hard evidence and factual science to base his predictions off of versus a lot of these climatologists that come out and say, this is how the planet was, this is where we're headed. We had the Goracle saying that back in the 80s, he said by the early 2000s, my home in Miami will be beachfront property. And he's been proven wrong, and now he has come out with another movie, Inconvenient Truth 2, I think, where he reassesses everything. Okay, I might have been wrong, but... And then he makes another wrong prediction, right? So, yeah, there's so many variables in this. It's all speculation. So, in all reality, either way you look at it, it's it's fairly unpredictable. Again, if you pay the guy the right amount, you can have the scientist tell you exactly whatever your special interest is. You can get whatever results you want, and get the people to buy into that.
Yeah, and some of it's also the hype and stuff. Take, for instance, the Arnold Schwarzenegger video. He says in there that around 20,000 people a year die in the U.S. from air pollution.
200,000, Jake. It's a epidemic.
Well, first thing you think about is, oh my God, really? I thought we were out of the 70s with the acid rain and the smog all over the place. It sounds horrible. We should be seeing pictures of our cities looking something like China right now. Well, the thing is, it was a study done in 2013 based on 2005 emission data, and it's not literally 200,000 people died. Through taking a model of those emissions data, they make an estimate, a projection of how many people may have died earlier than what they somehow statistically calculated they should have lived within a given year. And, I think their estimate for the time is 10 years earlier or something like that. But this isn't something where people actually looked and found bodies and said, oh, see all this particulate matter in their lungs? This definitely had a significant cause on their life. It's just them trying to find some sort of estimate because they didn't have any hard data on it.
Right, and I think about, this is something I've been harping on a lot recently, is because I've been realizing, Bill Nye, why is he even relevant? He died out in the 90s, right? Well, we see a lot of nostalgia being brought back. It's the next big thing is bringing back the old. We see a lot of repeating patterns here. So you bring back Bill Nye. Everybody grew up on Bill Nye. You and me both. You can't deny you grew up on Bill Nye. Damn, I should have been a poet. But I look back on his videos and I'm listening to them and I'm just I'm just thinking to myself, I can't believe all this propaganda you're spitting out. Talking about acid rain, what we were told at one point, acid rain would get so bad that people would have to get acid resistant umbrellas to save themselves from having the hair scalded out of their scalps from the acid rain. And now acid rain's okay, that's just it was just completely forgotten about. That idea has just totally been shit canned because obviously it never happened. It's not coming true. It was a big fear peddled to everybody. You know, you're talking about selling snake oil. No better way to sell it than by through fear. And, you know, people are talking about, too, the hole in the ozone, and now, like, it's being flipped around saying that ozone's, like, a bad thing now. The hole's not only closed, but now we have too much ozone. So, you know, it's just crazy, like, all this propaganda, you know, as I told you, Captain Planet, you know, I used to be heavily indoctrinated with Captain Planet, telling me that, you know, the capitalist pigs, you know, spewing pollution, and only you can stop those capitalists, and it's a wonder that either you or I ever come back and question that and say, you know, maybe that was all a crock of shit. Maybe that it was just being peddled to push forth a political agenda, not a scientific one, mind you. Go ahead, you look like you wanted to.
Yeah, well, a couple of digressions. First of all, ironically, the only one that was actually a capitalist in Captain Planet, as far as labeled it, was the poacher.
Was it? No, I could have sworn there was like an oil person.
There was the poacher. There was the junk man, the guy that just loved like junk mail and trash and being a slob for some reason. There was the female doctor that I don't even remember exactly what her thing was. Besides, I guess, you know, GMOs being the one that tried to facilitate the corporations taking over and stuff.
There you go, dude. Capitalism, evil capitalism taking over.
The other digression is that, you know, since you brought up this nostalgia factor, I remember it was always a thing I heard the left making fun of the right, you know, oh, they just keep thinking about the family and Leave It to Beaver and all that stuff. They want to go back to the 50s and stuff, and it seems like a lot of these people today want to go back to the 60s. They want to try to revolt against every single little thing that they can, but all right, that's enough for that digression.
Yeah, so, okay, rolling into the next problem I have with this whole deal is, you know, a lot of the people, including this particular person, whose name I only mentioned once for the record, by accident. No big problem they have with all this is that you know they're more socialist. They're usually left leaning, socialist, progressive, yada yada yada. What's ironic about it all is that you and I are free market capitalists, right? And these people are pushing socialism, but in this instant, with this climate change, this is actually an instance of crony capitalism. This is what we're fighting against, and this is what we say we have nothing to do with, and what is actually a problem that is destroying free market capitalism is crony capitalism. And crony capitalism is essentially when you have people that know people that push government policies onto the people themselves. So, for instance, everybody knows, for the most part now, especially after George W. Bush and Obama, if we're being like non-biased and actually assessing things the way they are, we understand that obviously there is a military-industrial complex, right? Nobody that actually understands what's going on will dispute that. They know that, yes, Lockheed Martin, etc., is making billions, if not trillions of dollars, that's a lot of fucking money. They're making so much money off utilizing the government to create this monopoly. And it doesn't just stop with that. It's not just in the military, it's also in the climate. So, you know, they're basically, essentially, they're keeping us divided. So, you know, the right says we need a strong military, and therefore they have locked in their Lockheed Martin votes. And then the left says we need a cleaner environment. We need to look out for the earth. So they lock in the Solyndra votes. So you have basically two people divided, and they're going to keep at it with each other. And as long as there's an equal balance, you're going to keep funneling billions of dollars to these crony capitalists that are either supporting the environment with Solyndra and companies like that, or supporting the military through Lockheed Martin, where they just line their pockets with billions of dollars. It's just ridiculous what they get away with. And then you have like conservatives that say we're trying to save money, and we're trying to save money and give money back to the taxpayer, but we need a military. Here's billions of dollars. And then you have the left that says, well, we don't believe in these evil fat cat corporate capitalist pigs, so take money from them and well, here's money back to them because they're for clean energy. And,
yeah, that's the main thing right there. You don't even have to go off into the military complex. You can just look, the Republicans, and they're supposed to be for the big evil oil companies, which are being subsidized right now, and that's something we agree with people generally on the left and stuff, is those subsidies need to be gone. But, we also don't want subsidies anywhere, because while you're trying to say you're sticking it to them with the Paris Accords and stuff like that, with trying to build up renewable energy, most of the biggest oil companies right now, the ones thought of as big oil companies, they're doing stuff with biofuels, they're doing stuff with solar, they're doing stuff with trying to generate tidal energy too. So what's actually happened is no matter what happens, these quote-unquote big evil corporations will have their finger in the pie. They will be getting their cut. But the more that you try to regulate and, as we view things, over-regulate things, the less it's going to be able for people to freely try to find the actual best options out there, and for there to be competition with these bigger companies, because they're sitting right at the table and they're going to make sure they get the best deals.
Yeah, absolutely. They're setting themselves up a monopoly, and through the government, that's the only way they can make it possible. But, actually addressing the situation, though, it's like, like if they really wanted to save the environment, would they be funneling the money towards these corporations? It's like, let's look at what the Paris climate change agreement's all about. Really, it's really about redistributing wealth. It's given a economic advantage towards countries like even China. China is considered a developing country by their standards, through which they get, like, we as taxpayers are funneling billions of dollars. Even what is it? Lee Iacocca and what's his name? The other engineer, big time engineer of Chevy, was in charge of Tesla. Screaming baby in the background. I can hardly think of it right now. But
You're talking about Elon Musk?
Elon Musk. He was getting billions funneled into his corporation through the government, through clean energy. So what is it really about? Like you look at guys like Al Gore and Elon Musk. They stand to lose billions if this trade agreement is shut down, and that's exactly what Trump did. I got to give him props. Like, I'm not a big fan of Trump, but god damn, like, he got it right on this, and he's bringing billions back to the economy, and rather than funneling over to China, which is one of the economic world powers, mind you, he's bringing it back to our own economy. So,
well, to avoid sounding like a nationalist or something like that, this is government money. This is the reason why we're for it. We're not against free trade. If there's any companies out there that, whatever nation that you feel they're making the best product for whatever situation, renewable energy, bread, whatever, go for it. We like the free market. That needs to be happening. But ironically, the best thing Schwarzenegger said in his video, and the most ironical, because I think he meant it as a slight, is that you shouldn't depend on government. You can't depend on government. If anything, the changes in the world that we need have to start grassroots. They have to be what the people decide, what we figure out that we need, and we enact. And that's the way it needs to be, because if you always try to do it from top down, there's been plenty of mistakes over the years where everybody just trusted the head man to do what they needed to do. Iraq War, for instance. And it led to terrible consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's what pisses me off about all this is that, you know, people want to force the federal government. You know, that's the whole point of this trade agreement is that it was made on an international level with our last president Obama without the vote from any of us, anybody from our Senate, anybody from our House of Representatives. Like nobody was really there to represent us other than the almighty one, Barack Obama himself, just the anointed one, decided that we were going to go through with this trade agreement, devote billions of dollars of our economy, and that isn't even our money. This is a point I get at. I don't mean to use children like the left do, but this is a point that just gets at me. You know, I hear my screaming kid out there. You know, when I think about her when I make these videos, I think about like the fact that, holy shit, like I'm not even, at this point when we're talking about climate treaties and we're talking about, well, let's give billions of dollars to China so they can continue to destroy the environment and ship us whatever shit we need. You know, it's I'm not giving my money. I'm not giving her money. I'm giving her kids money and those kids money. Like we're starting to get into the point where it's like my not just my grandchildren but my great grandchildren's. We're talking like we're in the going on two digits of trillions. Like what is it? Like 50? What is it? 10 trillion, 20 trillions of debt that we're just giving out. Now at this point, like we can't pay that off. Let's get real. Like by the time we're dead, like if all deficits were just to cease right now, by the time we're dead, maybe we'll pay off the debt. So with that being said, at this point, really we're spending our great grandchildren's money, and that's what the left always wants to talk about. You know, they want to talk about Sandy Hook. So it's for the children. We gotta invoke, you know, gun control because of children. But then when it comes down to spending our great-grandchildren's money, they're just like, fuck it. They'll figure it out. Because we'll make them so great that they'll be able to figure out how to fix 2 generations worth of debt. 2 generations worth of fuck-ups. That's my big beef. Anyways.
Yeah, and again, our main issue with this is that, you know, we're not saying there isn't, let's say, I don't know, 40% correct what they view, or even 60 or 70%. It's just that there's enough out there that it's a lot better for people to approach it individually or from their own communities and work up than try to dictate it from on high, because, you know, whatever billions we put out there, even if we weigh, you know, $10 billion, we waste 20% of it, that's still $2 billion that could have actually gone to making progress instead of just being wasted in another part of the debt that just gets frivolously spended, which isn't just my money, isn't just your money, just isn't your child's money, but it is reaching out into the future and withholding options from our family and our descendants.
Right, and you know, I'm just going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. You know, it's coming back to, you know, Bill Nye and whether or not, like, how qualified he is to talk about all this. You know, here we are. We're able to very accurately spit out information, which, again, you know, place in the comments. We'll come back to you through text. And we'll reply to whatever the discretions there may be. But, you know, he's coming out. And that's what irks me most about science is, like, you know, as science itself, you know, I am very enthralled with science. Jake, too. I mean, he's so much to the point that he has gotten a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. You know, like he's devoted his career to it. You know, it's not like we're afraid of science. It's just the fact that we see this clown, Bill Nye, who's basically just completely selling himself out. He's selling his soul. He's selling his image to politics. That's what just burns me about all this. Is it's not about the science. It's about what profit is there to make and what political leverage is there to be had in all of this. The science is just completely uninvolved. They say it's settled. I'd love if there was settled science, but in all reality, we should always question science. We should always question the establishment and every opinion, everything. We should always question everything, even this video itself. I ask you, question it. Give us comments. Let us get a little pushback. I'm sure one of our followers will be there. And it's like one of our other followers. He even commented. He said, just like in response to one of the other followers that was talking about how, scientists say this and this is how it is. He says, the guys at Harvard also said years ago that fat and not sugar, they were paid to say that fat and not sugar is what you shouldn't be eating. That's why you see all this back and forth is because of lobbyists. I mean, even down to the micro level in Gardenville, Alabama, FFS, they have lawn service carriers that are able to push out lobbyists to say that people should have to have a license to mow lawn. So now in Gardenville, Alabama, if you're a teenager trying to raise money for whatever the hell you need, you have to have a license because it's been lobbied. So, again, I say to all the leftists that are out there saying, down with capitalism, you're supporting the worst kind of capitalism. You're supporting crony capitalism. Jake and I push for free market capitalism. You're pushing for crony capitalism where only a few companies, the well-connected ones, get to have policies pushed in their favor in the name of saving the environment, etc. That's about all I got. Final thoughts, Jake.
Yeah, it's just, please, any comments or questions that y'all have, send it our way. If there's any studies that you want us to look at, just send it over and give us a few weeks and stuff. The one thing I can promise is, we might not agree with anything that it presents, but we're going to try our best to come from the fundamental science of it and work our way up. And, that's the thing with a lot of these models and stuff, they're estimates. They're trying to find the best picture of a fuzzy situation. Sometimes there's going to be overlap, sometimes there's not, but, we're going to do our best. We're open-minded. Bring it to us.
And again, thank you for tapping into Critical Thoughts, breaking through the white noise, bringing the media that matters.